Welcome to my shop. My name is Guy, and today I want to talk to you about the Lamello Zeta P2 system and the P-system connectors. It's a wonderful joinery system, so let's get right into it. Now this is everything that's included with the Lamello Zeta P2 system. Mine came in a sustainer, of course, with the machine itself, a bag with a small collection of fittings as samples, a 4mm and a 2mm shim, right angle attachment, a 5mm drill, and the drilling jigs and guides that you're going to need for both the P-10 and the P-14 system fittings, and also the tools you need to make some adjustments on the machine. Now I'm going to bring you a little bit closer and show you what the different settings are on this machine. Now at first glance this looks like a regular biscuit joiner, but there's definitely some differences and I need to point those out. This lever right here, this lowers the 90-degree fence attachment, which you'll find on most joiners like this. Now this is the depth settings for the different type of system you'll be using. It's set at max right now for the P system connectors. And you can use a 0, 10, 20, S, or the D biscuits. You can change the blade out on this and use it as a regular biscuit joiner. This dial right here is for the depth settings when you're using the P system connection fittings. 14mm is for when you're using it in 3/4 inch material. And you can also set it down to 10 for 1/2 inch material, depending on the type of connector you're using. I've taken the base off the machine because I want to show you the blade and how all this works. So this is the blade for the system, and if you look right here, you notice there's two little wings on either side of the blade. What those are for, that actually creates the groove that the P system connectors slide into. So when this plunger here hits this stop for the specific depth of the P system connector you're using, let's say a 10 or a 14 or an 18 in the case of the Divario, this blade will vibrate up and down and actually create that groove for the P system connector to slip into. Now these are the different P system connectors that are available. The first is the Clamex, and this allows you to create knockdown furniture, and it's available both in a 14 and a 10. The 10 are very handy for 1/2 inch material, and the 14s can be used in 3/4 and above. There's also the Tenso fittings. Again, available in a 14 and a 10. This allows you to do clampless glue-ups. There's also the Divario system, and this will allow you to add partitions or shelves into an existing cabinet after it's assembled. And we've also got the Flexus, which is the new system, and this will allow you to do almost the same thing as the Divario, except it works a little bit differently, and this is pretty cool. Now we'll be going over each one of these individually so you can see how they're installed and their different uses. Another very useful accessory that comes with the kit is this wheel. Now this will allow you to do butt joints and miter joints with both the Clamex and the Tenso fittings, and depending on your material and the fitting you're using, this will tell you what angle to put everything at and also what size shim to use. Very useful and gives you a lot of different joinery options for a lot of different things. Now the first connector I'm going to show you is the Clamex fitting, and this is for the knockdown pieces. So there's two sides to it. There's a male side and a female side, and when they go together like this, you drill an access hole and then a key fits in here. You spin it and they lock together. There's a little cam that grabs the inside of that and cinches it together. So this is a 14mm fitting. I've got my stop set to 14 and I've got this set to max. So I've got two sample pieces here, I've got my reference faces marked, and I just need to cut them real quick. the slot's cut in both pieces, I can take the drilling jig, and I've got the 14mm piece in here, and that just simply goes in the slot I cut just a second ago, like that, and then I can just drill down for the access hole for the Allen key. Now, assembling this joint couldn't be easier. You can see a slot here. You can see where those little grooves have been cut in the side. And there's little splines on the sides of the connectors. And those just slide in like that. Now, on this side with the hole, that's where the Allen key goes. I want to make sure I have that facing up. And after I insert it, I want to be able to see that through the hole there. Then it's just a matter of putting these two together, like so, taking the Allen key and spinning that cam around. And now I've got a perfectly flush joint here, and this is very strong. There's going to come a point in time you've got a 90-degree edge like this, and then you want to put another one in there like that, with another clamp on this side. You're not going to be able to do that because these pieces are so deep at 14mm that they're going to hit on the inside. And that's where the medius connectors come in. This is a 10mm slot. There's a divot in here, and two of them can fit back to back. Let me cut those real quick, and I'll show you how that joint goes together. So I've created a slot on both sides, 10mm depth. And these just go in here like that. Now I've also put a clamping element on this side of this one. So that just goes in here like this. And like that, problem solved. Now this is the Tenso fitting. This side has barbs on it. This side has a little catch for those barbs. All I'm going to do is put a slot in this side and a slot in this end. And once those are in there, I can put the two pieces together and it will clamp them together. Now this is really super handy when you're assembling built-ins, cabinets, or even attaching face frames out in the field or in the shop for that matter. And you just don't have a lot of clamps, or you don't want to use clamps. You can just put these in, put some glue on them, clamp them together, and you're done. Now with those slots drilled, I can install the Tenso connectors. One goes in this side. One goes here. Now I can spread some glue on here and snap them together. One thing I do like to do is use these preload clips, and that's this little guy here. There's a special tool to put them in. Now this is an option. You do not have to use these. I like to use these because it makes it easier for the pieces to snap together. That just goes on there like that, and then snaps in there like that, and it spreads those arms apart. Again, makes it easier to put these two together. So once that's done, I said spread some glue on there, and then they simply snap together. That applies 30 pounds of clamping force. And, you know, like I said, if you're out in the field doing face frames or putting cabinets together or built-ins, this is a great connector to have. I built a whole kitchen using nothing but these. Now this is the Divario installation kit. You've got the installation tool for this piece right here. I'll show you how that works in a little bit. There's an 8mm drill with a stop collar. There's a metal marking jig. And this comes with 4 little push points to mark where your holes go, and also a plastic marking jig. So the first thing I want to do is mark this side for where this piece is going to go. So I'm just going to take my square here. I'm going to mark a line, and that's the center line for where this is going to go. I'm going to take my marking jig, put it on that line, and then that makes marks where the holes need to be drilled. Then I can use the drill with the stop collar on it to drill those holes. Now with the holes drilled, I can add these pieces, and these are the parts that go into the cabinet itself. And those just get hammered in. Now over at the Zeta P2 machine, there's these 2 rubber feet right here that need to be removed. Now I'm just going to take a small screwdriver and get them out. All right, there's one, and I'll get the other one. So I've got the rubber feet out, and I'm going to set those aside. Make sure you don't lose them. Then I'm going to take my right angle attachment, and this needs to be set to the depth of half the thickness of the plywood. So in this case, I'm using 19mm plywood, so I need to come down here and lower this to 9.5 millimeters, which is about right there, and lock it in place. I need to make a couple changes on the machine settings also. I need to set this to off and this to 0. Well, I've got the mating piece clamped to my bench. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the machine, I'm going to plunge in starting here, and then create a groove going all the way to the other end with the Zeta P2. Here's a little better shot of the groove I just made. Now, in almost all cases, you're going to be putting one on the other side too, and that's just a matter of starting back here and then stopping it before it hits the front. I've reinstalled the rubber friction pads, and I've also set the machine back to max on this setting and 18 here. Now I'm going to make 2 plunges, one here and one here for the fittings that slide in. Now I need to set this piece into here. Now inside here, you probably can't see it on camera, but there's 2 small little nails right here that are going to lock this piece into the shelf. That's what this installation tool is for. There's 2 little metal pins here that are going to hit those 2 nails inside of there. So I just need to put this on like that, slide it in. There's also a line on here. I want to make sure that that is even with my workpiece. Then I can just take a hammer, and now that piece is set in here. I'll do the same thing down at this end. Here's a little better shot of those 2 sides of the Divario fitting set in the workpiece. Now with everything installed, I can just slide these 2 pieces together. A little bit of persuasion, so they're flush on the ends here, and that's a nice solid joint. Again, this is a really, really good method for assembling cabinets out in the field or built-ins, and being able to put the shelves in after the cabinet is fully assembled. Now this is the Clamex Flexus. This is a lot like the regular Clamex in the fact that it's got a spot where you can stick an Allen wrench into, move it over, and a locking arm comes and locks it into place. But it has these 2 little spring-loaded arms on here. Now those fit into the 10mm medius fittings like this, so you can go back to back with them. And what that's for is being able to take a shelf like this in a box that's been made and putting it in like that. Now I know you can say I could probably use the Divario fitting for that. The only problem with this is, and it's not really a problem, but you can't really flat pack it because these are sticking up, and if you're putting a lot of pieces on top of one another, let's say in the back of your delivery van, these can get in the way, and you really should install these before you take to the job site, because you need to make sure they fit before you take them to the job site. So with my Zeta P set to max here and 10 here, I'm going to cut a slot in the sides of the panels. And all I'm going to do is line up the mark here with the mark I've made here to the edge and make the plunge. With this left at max, and now this change over to 14, I'm ready to create the slots in the edges of the shelf itself. Now with the drilling jig, I want to drill an access hole in here for the Allen key. Now I can put the medius fittings in the sides. And I can slide the Clamex fitting in the shelf. Now with everything installed, I can just drop the shelf in, taking these two little pins right here and putting them in one side, and then bring the other side until it snaps in place. Then I'm going to take my hex key and lock everything in place. So as you can see, the Lamello Zeta P2 system is a very powerful, very efficient joinery system. Along with the P system connectors, you have a lot of different options: angles, butt joints, shelves, partitions, whatever the case may be. Whether you're doing things in your shop and looking for more efficiency, or you're building things to be installed at the job site and you can pack them in a van and take them off with you, this is a great system to have. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.